Welcome everyone to the Real Whovians cast. I am your host, Matrix Lord 212, and I'm with Yvette. What's up, Yvette?
Hey Joe, I'm great. Yeah, it's Friday here in the UK, so I'm prepping for tonight, of course.
All right. What's up, Wolf?
Yeah, it's Saturday. It's Thursday night here in Florida.
Yes, it's still third. Well, actually, it's Friday now. It's 12:55 in the morning. So I had overnight the other day, and then I was trying to recalibrate my sleeping today, and plus I've been having problems with I've been having problems with my back, so I just was relaxing today and just being a gamer playing video games.
But I think it's good you had a good relaxing day, Joe.
Yes.
You know, you're always on the go, and you do need to take time out for yourself.
Yes.
Oh, I'm lecturing you again. I'm sorry.
No, you're not lecturing. You know, sometimes you need to.
In me. It's the mummy in me.
Sometimes you need to step away a little bit. And I was doing my other hobbies, but there was a lot of things that we have to talk about with Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
Did you try to aspargum on your back, like aspargum or Bengay?
I put Icy Hot on.
Oh, okay,
yeah, pretty much. So we'll see what happens. I don't really want to go to the chiropractor, but we'll see.
We have heat patches in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Your clothes, and they last 24 hours because I have a slightly damaged back, and they're fabulous.
Wow. Well, maybe I'll look into that.
Is your tax money going to good use, sir? I'm talking Yvette.
Oh.
Mine, good use.
Yeah.
What do you mean? My tax money going to good use? Well, we
for
have
your medical
left the EU. Woo!
Oh well, then you might not get medical anymore.
Yes, we will. The NHS was not designed by the EU. It was designed by the UK just after the Second World War. The NHS is not going anywhere, and we have free medical health, regardless of if you work or not, earn or not. It's called pay as you go. So the more you earn, the more you pay towards it.
Nice.
As my dad called it, medical from the womb to the tomb.
Yeah.
Does Chris Chibnall have medical coverage or what? Because after this season,
he should.
God,
the company
somebody's gonna get sick. God.
And Joe, in the UK, the companies don't provide for medical.
God, Chris Chibnall. Sometimes I'm getting sick with some of the stuff.
Yeah, well, they don't need to provide medical. At most companies I've ever worked for, but I work in a different industry to most people, but I have worked in the private sector, and they offer it's called Bupa. That's our private medical. So you can go posh, but they literally is the same as the NHS with people that actually speak to you with a bit of decorum. But
now, Perry, you had a theory about Doctor Who, because why don't you say?
This might get confusing, but have you ever heard of throwing a rock into a pond and it causes ripples in time?
Ripple effect, yes.
Yeah.
What if, let's say, Gallifrey to Time Lords would be where the clock is at for them, correct? Not Earth time, not any other time, but Gallifreyan time, especially for the TARDIS. So if something happened like a fracture and it rippled into the future, and there's multiple ripples going on, that would affect.
You're talking about time-space, aren't you?
Well, I mean, didn't we say that with the theory I had yesterday, that I was saying that if the Doctor and Susan were born in the future, and the Doctor's actions in the past would create enough ripples.
Well, maybe it's not the Doctor.
Right, or the Master, to basically affect her own origin.
Yeah, I think this is what this is, because the Master, Gallifrey was a fixed point in time, and when it was frozen, it was fixed.
Right. Well, I don't know.
It was fixed in the Pocket Universe.
Yes.
Well, okay. Let's not confuse fixed and state of flux.
Yeah.
It was placed in the Pocket Universe, but it wasn't a fixed point. It was placed in there. Now, the thing is that it got out of there.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Chibnall
got that.
Yes. Well, here's where I was talking to a few real Whovians today, and basically, if Sasha Dewan's master is not after Missy,
No.
let's just say that as John Sim's master is regenerating, he's like, I will not become Missy, right?
Yeah.
Now, it was never clear if Missy was right after John Sim anyway. So he
They never showed the
basically,
regeneration.
right, so he basically tries to concentrate to make it where the regeneration is not a woman.
Yeah.
And then we get Sasha Dewan's master, right?
Yeah.
And he also does something to try to make himself remember. So, because at the timey-wimey thing, he's going to forget the encounter himself. And when Sasha Dewan is born, and he has all these notes of what just happened, because again, the time streams will make you erase your memory, you won't be able to see it. Sasha Dewan decides, master, fresh from, John Sim's master, that he's going to alter the time stream because Missy already was working with Gallifrey when they were out of the pocket universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if he went back along his time stream to before Missy went back there and basically killed them all,
Yep.
that would create a ripple where they wouldn't be in there to give him regeneration energy.
Yeah, so that means that Matt Smith never regenerated.
Right, and probably Missy wouldn't be there either because John Sim was in the pocket universe with Rassilon fighting, and they're like, give him a TARDIS and get him out of there. Now, of course, he could have went out of there and then the other master attacked, right? But that would create a whole new thing because I always said that regardless, Matt Smith had another regeneration and he was just too old to figure it out, to realize, because it would not be possible for him to have regeneration energy to give the river for her hands. So there has to be a full regeneration in there, in him, because he used a fraction of it to heal her hands. So he has to have a regeneration. So why not you have a situation where none of that stuff happens, Trenzalore doesn't happen, the name of the doctor doesn't happen, none of that happens.
Yep.
Right? So now you're getting a paradox on top of a paradox.
Yep.
Because now you're not having him not push the button.
Yep.
And you just created two paradoxes at the same time because now he doesn't, because there is no data doctor. So this whole thing gets so screwed up that he'll probably will regenerate and he will become Ruth.
Possibly.
Because maybe something he was thinking in his head and it affected the regeneration and he just became Ruth, not Peter Capaldi's on.
Right. Can I chime in on this one?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Your theory about John Sims and Missy I like because that whole thing, as I pointed out before, was a paradox anyway and didn't make sense in that episode because they shoot each other, which cancels it out. If you kill yourself, how can you kill yourself? You know.
Well, he could still regenerate.
No, I'm not arguing that point.
Yeah.
I just wanted to bring in the fact they were on a ship that was almost touching a black hole, right?
Yep.
So the whole timey-wimey thing you're talking about, when you're close to a black hole, space-time warps to a point that actually is beyond physics to a degree.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So all of this theory, time and space are linked. So anything, it's very unpredictable what happens at event horizons of black holes. So as for Gallifrey and the time ripple, again with Gallifrey, I've always assumed, on my own personal opinion, Gallifrey has always been in the future from the start.
Right.
Yeah.
And and we don't know how far in the future, billions of years, trillions of years in the future.
Right.
They're a race of beings that controls time, space, dimensions, whatever. And the Doctor came from them. So that's why he was so knowledgeable about everything. So they were always from the future anyway.
Right.
So when they travelled back, the Daleks are in the future as well.
Yes, there are a lot. Most of them are in the future.
So yeah, compared to us here on Earth. So the whole time and space problems with this are horrendous. I mean,
well, here's the thing. This would work out perfectly.
My theory is perfect with the alternate one, but
Right.
said it isn't. So.
We have an ace in the hole because I don't know if you're aware of this, but we were aware of this. That they filmed an entirely different thing in Time of the Doctor, where I think the Doctor lost a leg to the Weeping Angel.
Oh.
And I believe he was regenerating when he was falling in the air. There was some different type of sequence that was filmed, supposedly. Now, what they could technically do to be smart is they could show how Ruth came to be by showing that alternate footage of, I guess, Matt Smith falling in the air or different things and different dialogue. And then when he's regenerating in the air or whatever that sequence was, she's there. So technically they have another regeneration scene that they could use for her.
Yeah.
If they were smart and say, look, time came differently on Trenzalore and this is what happened. And he regenerated there and it was like whatever. And they could technically show her pop out.
Mm-hmm.
Because they filmed a different thing and they weren't, because Moffat, whenever he filmed things, he was like, I'm not sure about this. Let's do this one. How about we regenerate on the clock tower? How about we do this? Just like when I went to Angels Take Manhattan filming, he filmed different stuff. And what I witnessed was there was a scene that was with the Doctor and Amy, and there was like this blues band or something, like a music band or something in New York. In in that area, and they were interacting with this band, and from across the street, I was watching this, and I'm like, and then when I went to see the episode, I'm like, this was never in there. I never seen this. This never happened. So I often wondered if Moffat had saved a lot of footage that he changed, so he could put later on in future episodes.
Well, most of the cutting room floor stuff is stored.
Like, in other words, he could say, oh, the Doctor saved Amy, and now they're listening to a music band. Yeah. Like, he went back and saved her in New York, because you have all that footage.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But again, you have a thing for Ruth technically you could use. You could say that she was after Matt Smith, that technically it was wrong. He did have a cycle regenerations, but he had one regeneration left but he was so old, he didn't know he had it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that would make sense because there was regeneration energy for River's hand. So he did have one. That's just because when he told the Cybermen he has a regeneration left, and I could use it against you, they looked at his mind. They're like, oh, you're telling the truth. That was in Nightmare in Silver.
Yeah.
So technically he should have had a regenerate. So you can get out of the whole Gallifrey not giving him regenerations where you could just say she's there. Now you could also say that she doesn't have any regenerations anymore. That's it. And she's that's it. And when everything happens in this episode and time gets fixed, she phases out like the Ninth Doctor and Rose saw the Ninth Doctor and Rose in Father's Day. They phase out, but it doesn't erases her from our universe. Yeah. But she would be in another universe. Like it would be.
How does the whole Matt Smith Capaldi regeneration happen then?
Because when time is reset back to the way it is, then that happens the way it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you look at time ripples and effects.
Yeah.
Well basically, the Doctor is going to do what you should do with the Master. When the Master ruled the Earth for a year, David Tennant's Doctor, he reversed it, and the whole year never happened. This is how Jodie is going to deal with the situation where whatever happens is going to be rewritten, and none of it's going to happen, and everything's just going to fade away. And she's going to have a moment where she's talking to Ruth Doctor, and you were a great doctor, and you were great. I wish I would got to know you, whatever. And then Ruth is going to fade out. And then what they're going to do is,
Or
Jody's going
to fade out.
Jody's not going to fade out. No, Jody's here, but Jody's going to be talking to her companions and talking about Ruth, and then it's going to cut away to Ruth getting up off the ground, where the universe was fixed and different time streams, and she's in another universe with her TARDIS. She carries on, so she does exist, but she is in another universe now.
No, you don't necessarily have to have different universes.
No, but the thing is, in a way, if here's the thing, there are people now that if he goes to erase her thing, they will flip out because she's the first ever doctor of color.
Yeah.
So you have to appease both fan bases where she's not our doctor anymore. She never really was, but she still survives in another timeline.
Look,
Well,
it's an interesting theory. I'm struggling with the bit with Matt Smith turning into Capaldi because, we've all witnessed that, etc., etc. I understand what you're saying about how time changes, but we're going to lose all that through
No,
Ruth.
you won't lose it.
Well, no, eventually we won't because it'll be reversed back. I do understand what Joe's saying. It's just I have heard about 50,000 theories now. But I will say I did some research. You know what I'm like about Time Lords. I went right back through the lore. I've got like an encyclopedia of Doctor Who lore. And I went right back to the beginning, and it basically, they say they exist outside of time and space.
Yep.
And they govern and watch only, all the dimensions.
Which is why when they erase
one set of Time Lords.
When they erase time, they're not altered.
Yeah.
Excuse me. That's what I'm saying when Gallifrey is a fixed point in time. Because
that's two different things.
Wait.
Yeah, no.
Let me get what I'm saying. If all the Time Lords go back to Gallifrey and the clock is running, the clock goes by Gallifrey time, not by any other time.
Yeah, but that's a completely different thing because fixed points, they mean that something happens in history that has to happen.
Yeah, like
their whole existence is not a fixed point.
No.
It's not.
So it's
they're outside.
Because then the thing would have never happened with the pushing the button, not pushing the button. So that was altered. So like they're not a fixed point. Gallifrey is not a fixed point.
No,
not technically.
They're not
nothing to do with
They're like living in the void, maybe. That's the best way to think of it. They're outside.
I'll give you an example. Space. Adelaide Brooks was a fixed point because her daughter and daughter's daughter is in the future, right? The Dalek didn't shoot her because something is connected with her timeline where if they shot her, they could technically prevent the birth of the Daleks.
Yeah, their own existence.
There is a descendant that encounters Davros or something happens and it would affect the Daleks' timeline.
Yeah.
Because they're in the future. It probably would affect the Doctor's timeline and it would probably affect just about everybody because she's someone of importance. Now, technically, maybe thing is altered already. Because if you remember, the doctor said that her granddaughter falls in love with an alien prince.
Mm-hmm.
And the baby is the first of a new species.
Mm-hmm.
Which I've always said years ago that new species is Gallifreyan. And the doctor was the first Gallifreyan. Not Time Lord, Gallifreyan. Yeah. Now, as time goes on,
I haven't even made that connection, Joe, at all.
Yeah. Now, as time goes on, like there's more Gallifreyans because there's more Earthlings that get with that planet and that different things, and then they have a whole society after a while of Gallifreyans where maybe the Doctor is one of the first, around when Rassilon was around when whatever, and around when Omega was around. And Omega basically does the experiment to create time travel, and it works, but he gets sucked into the antimatter universe. Rassilon basically is like, well, I ain't gonna save him. Screw that. I'm just gonna take over this whole thing and just, govern and make laws and everything. And poor Omega's like screwed over, and the Time Lords are born, right? Which did happen. He did say he wanted revenge against the Time Lords. Now, after a while with the Three Doctors, when we got to the Fifth Doctor time, Time Lords started communicating with Omega because there was a section of Time Lords that respected Omega, like saying, he kind of got screwed over by Rassilon. So they were in cahoots with Omega, working with them. I haven't
seen any of that.
Right. That was an Arc of Infinity, right?
Yeah, I just want to point out real quick that my knowledge of the original series is very limited. I only had like 50 hours, maybe.
Okay.
Because a lot of it, they would just, like the Crusade, for example. They only showed one episode when I watched it of the Crusade on
see,
PBS.
there was multiple channels here in the States. There was New Jersey Network, Channel 58. There was WLIW 21, and there was Channel 31. Now, Channel 21 and 31 showed it in one parts, spread out throughout the week. And if you missed that one part, you lost it. But on Saturday night at 9 o'clock, New Jersey Network showed the whole entire serial of Doctor Who in its entirety. So you got to see parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, from 9 to 11 or whatever.
We had to wait every week. I started watching Doctor Who with oh my goodness, what's his name? At this time of the morning,
mine was Tom Baker.
Number three.
Oh, John Pertwee.
John Pertwee. I actually remember seeing him in the hospital bed at Unit, right? That is one of my first memories of Doctor Who. And but Tom Baker is, even though I love John Pertwee, it was all based on Earth, and Tom Baker just took me out.
Right.
I mean, he made me what I am today.
Right.
Doctor Who made me what I am today because Tom Baker was just
brilliant.
Well, he's a legend.
Yes, I know. Me too, because he was my first stuff.
Well, let me explain.
Wolf, if you get BritBox, every single classic episode is now on there.
Yeah.
I know. I just can't afford it right at the moment.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Well, when you can, they're all on there.
You wanted to finish, Wolf. Go ahead with your theory.
Well, the thing is I was going to explain about the Doctor Who episodes, the way PBS showed them. They only showed the episodes that had video and voice. So it may skip from a whole serial to, let's say, the Crusade, and they'll show one episode of Crusade and then go to another serial. You see what I'm saying? They just totally skip the serial.
Right, you couldn't watch the whole thing, to get confusing. Yeah.
Yeah, because the episode wasn't there. This was in the 80s, so they didn't animate the episodes then. So.
See, the thing is that they had it scheduled where you had to be there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock in the afternoon to watch the complete package. Like, so in other words, if there was, Genesis Daleks Part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it would be the whole week, Monday, Tuesday. So if you missed it on Tuesday, you screwed, because you missed, then you couldn't see the whole episode, you didn't see what was happening. So after I got out of school every day, I would run home to watch it, so I was just,
But when Star Trek The Next Generation came out, I just totally forgot about Doctor Who.
87 now. Yeah.
Oh, I remember the original series. I love the original series. And then the Next Generation, Jean-Luc Picard.
I love Jean-Luc.
Yeah, so do I.
Back to the theory, if the Gallifrey's in the Pocket universe, that means they're frozen in time, doesn't it?
No, not necessarily.
No.
To everybody else, they're frozen in time.
Yeah. Do you remember in Day of the Doctor, the pictures, the holographic
very slow.
pictures?
Yeah.
They were moving in there, but it was like Joe says, it's on the they're moving normally.
Same
with
thing
the-
like World
but
Enough in
we-
Time. Moffat
Yeah.
copied off his own thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they went with the Cyberman ship. They were moving like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's like if you go the one with the black hole again. At the
Yeah.
top, we could see them moving normally, but at the bottom, years and years and years have passed, and they would have looked
Right.
like they were like taking a step every year. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what the Pocket Universe was doing, just like in the pictures. So
Yeah, I see.
it wasn't static, but they were moving at a very slow pace. So it took them a while to contact.
I
the
think it took
doctor.
them months to move
Yeah, well,
like
that
a minute or
crack in
something.
time. That's how I figured.
Like a month to
That's how
move
I
a
read it.
minute or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it worked. But it was a Pocket Universe outside of our universe. But they
Yeah.
had to bring it in for Capaldi, otherwise that whole story wouldn't have worked.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was probably the master that got them out of there anyway.
Mm.
And then
Yeah,
in
so-
exchange,
Yeah.
If it's sending ripples into the future to the Gallifrey in the future, then there might be multiple different time streams in the future. And one Doctor Who was born in the future, that might have affected it.
The Doctor was born in the future on
The
Gallifrey.
Yeah, but
was
you see, if they destroy Gallifrey and it's in the past, and it'll ripple.
Well, it
off
wasn't
into
in.
the
It wasn't
future.
in the. It wasn't really in the past. It's
In
in
the
the
future.
Pocket Universe. Okay, here's the thing. If Sasha Dewan kills them before they get out of the Pocket Universe, then all that stuff wouldn't happen after, right?
No.
Yeah.
But he would have knowledge that they came out of the Pocket Universe, and he would go purposely to alter it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That would cause a ripple that would go backwards in time.
Yeah, because
The
Gallifrey's in
past.
the future.
Right,
Gallifrey's in
because
the future, right?
right. So it would affect different things and would cause paradoxes and stuff like that. Because again, the Doctors, 11th Doctor into the 12th would be altered, and the Master would be altered, and then you would have paradox on top of paradox on top of paradox, and it would be like a never-ending loop of explosions and things because
Until
time will be
is
so
destroyed.
screwed up that now you would start to have different things from different universes seeping in because it's confused and they don't know
Different
how to
time
fix it.
periods.
Right, you would have different alternate universes seeping in because what timeline is this going to be now? Because again, if you start rewriting things, it's going to, and because it's due time travel, you got a real mess. So you really got to figure out, okay, if you know that the Doctor put them in there, right?
Yeah.
So what would be altered? Well, what would be altered would be that the Doctor would not get regeneration energy,
That's right.
and
Destroy the Daleks.
Missy would not be able to visit Gallifrey
Nope.
to get the technology to make the Nethersphere.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't happen either.
Yep.
So she wouldn't, and Capaldi wouldn't even be there as a Doctor because,
Yep.
like, all that stuff, like, you would have old Matt Smith's Doctor. I still believe he would have a regeneration, but it would, like, he probably would get shot by a Dalek. He probably would regenerate differently. And then that would be his
And then
last
you've got
regeneration.
the whole heaven sent stuff. I mean, my
That
God.
wouldn't
you can't
happen.
make
None of
more
that would
obvious.
happen. There would be no
No.
Ashilda. There would be no confession dial. There will be none of, like, the Master missing. None of that.
No.
And you have to think, all right, well, what else didn't happen? Then Clara would not be dead by the Ravens because the Ravens were created by the Time Lords to screw up
Yep.
the Doctor with the Shilda.
Yeah.
So Clara would be alive still.
Yeah.
So you would have a different Doctor running around with Clara. So it would be,
Yes,
it would
you would.
really be screwed up,
Yeah.
like bad.
Yeah, it would.
And then,
Right.
and then if there was any threat that the Doctor had to take care of as the 12th Doctor, now this new Doctor would have to take care of it. But if she didn't take care of it, then planets would be destroyed, or the races
Oh,
would
yeah.
win, or whatever. You know, so then you would have a situation where if Capaldi wasn't around to shrink down and go into the Dalek, right?
There'd be no Rusty.
There'll be no Rusty, and then the Daleks would not battle Rusty, and then the Daleks would overtake planets and solar systems.
I could have done without Rusty, though.
Right. It would be like beyond belief paradox. You would also have like under the lake before the flood, that doctor wouldn't be there to stop that, and the Fisher King would take over things.
Oh yeah.
Plus, you have to bring in the classic side, Joe. Just remember, the classic side of it would also be royally affected.
Yes,
it probably already is.
Now,
we're down to 255, darling.
I know. You could have a situation where, all right, just like with the Great Intelligence, when the Great Intelligence went to alter the Doctor's timeline, he did it from the most recent to the oldest, because that way he could hurt him so much more severely.
Yes.
And then by Clara appearing there, it canceled out him, and then he was just wherever. But then she kind of canceled out herself too, because it was like both of them canceled out. Yeah. And then she wound up in this time stream, which they never explained that either.
No.
Remember in the last trailer?
I did not like Clara's character.
You remember in the last trailer of Doctor Who, for the next episode, they were talking about things were out of whack.
Yes.
And things didn't look right.
Right.
The
things
was saying
messed up. Just like Father's Day.
Yeah.
Things
were messed up.
Things were messed up.
Father's Day was wrong anyway. They got things wrong.
Right.
In Father's Day anyway.
We'll create another one. Yeah. It's Father's Day, like there was no laws governing time and these creatures were there. Then just like So when those creatures come back,
that's why
the underlying story was right. The problem was with the police box that was empty. The police box shouldn't have been there because the chameleon circuit just produces an image.
Like the dimensions got out of whack where it wasn't bigger on the inside.
No, but the box shouldn't have been there at all.
Wow. There's a whole.
And then it reappeared in the church with the key. So
and the doctor got eaten too. Doctor got eaten too. So
I think the police box is just used for nostalgia, basically.
But it was
well, they wanted to show that something was wrong.
In the law, you can't. The outside of the police box doesn't actually exist physically. It's like a hologram, a hard-like hologram, like in Red Dwarf.
They said that, but they changed the continuity of that.
Well, they changed it in New.
Because you're punching on the TARDIS doors, like when Clara's trying to get in. So it's real.
Like hologram, like Rimmer.
Well, all right, we're gonna have to create a new one. Thank you guys. We'll be back. Take care. Bye for now.
All right.